Hello everyone. Hey, I wanted to talk about two initiatives that are flying way under the radar. You will not hear about these from the mainstream media. The first one is called CAI, Content Authentication Initiative, and the second is C2PA, Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. So these are two things that you really need to hear about. But first, if you don't mind, smash that like button so YouTube will share this information with more people, because I think this is really important to something that we really need to know and understand what's going on behind the scenes. So let's get to it. Okay, CAI is designing components and drafting standards, specifications for a simple, extensible, and distributed media provenance solution. I know that's really a lot of words, but basically, here's from their introduction on their organization site. It says, with the increasing velocity of digital content and the democratization of powerful creation and editing techniques, robust content attribution is critical to ensure transparency, understanding, and ultimately trust. Basically what they're saying is they want to come up with standards and things that they can put into content to make sure that, number one, you know where it's coming from and it's not been manipulated with or something like that. It says, we are witnessing extraordinary challenges to trust in the media. Really? I mean, the media, can we trust the media much at all? I mean, come on, that's not unusual. As social platforms amplify the reach and influence of certain content via ever more complex and opaque algorithms, misattributed and miscontextualized content spreads quickly. Yeah, there's a lot of algorithms in big tech that are allowing you to see things and not see things. But it goes on to say that whether inadvertent misinformation or deliberate deception via disinformation, collectively inauthentic content is on the rise. Basically what they're saying here is that there's a lot of things out on the internet that they don't like to see. And so they want to be able, because they want to be able to, they are deciding what is misinformation and what's disinformation. And that's really a bad thing, because now we got this group of people, companies banding together to decide what you should be able to see. And it says, ultimately, the solution for the problem of inauthentic content and the erosion of trust it causes will rely on efforts in three distinct areas. Now, I think a lot of that distrust in media comes from the fact that many times what we see in the media, whether it's the actual news media or other things produced, are a lot of times maybe not factual or maybe not exactly how things happen. But it says first is detection of deliberately deceptive media. Through a combination of algorithmic identification and human-centered verification of intentionally misleading content, the amount of inauthentic content can be reduced. Now, they're talking about people who are making up, editing videos to look like something else happened. Now, maybe we do have that, but I think that in our instance, in our freedoms, we should be able to decide what we see and decide whether what we're looking at is authentic, or if we don't think it's authentic, we should be able to go investigate it and find out more about whatever that video is or that news article. I mean, what do you think? Should we all be given the opportunity to see whatever's on the internet, and then we decide what is maybe misinformation or disinformation? And it says, second, education is essential. Well-intentioned creators and consumers will need to understand the danger of disinformation and the use of techniques to eradicate it. They must also understand ways to use sophisticated creative tools responsibly. These are the skills that must be learned and passed on through media literacy campaigns and formal education. We must all understand why and when to trust what we see, hear, and read, and we must be equipped with the tools and the knowledge to do so. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to educate every person out there to realize and know what or what isn't what we might say is disinformation or misinformation, or what someone else might say. I mean, any one of you who are watching this might decide that what I'm doing is disinformation. This is not an easy thing to just for somebody or group of people to go decide what they think is disinformation or misinformation. And it says, finally, we must consider content attribution, which is the focus of this paper. Often referred to as provenance, attribution empowers content creators, editors, and regardless of their geographic location or degree of access to technology, to disclose information about who created or changed an asset what was changed and how it was changed. And while detection can help address the problem of trust in media reactively by identifying content suspected to be deceptive, attribution proactively adds a layer of transparency so consumers can be informed in their decisions. Basically what they're saying is they want to have, if you put it in easy terms, they want to be some sort of watermarking on videos and any kind of like probably web content so that you could quickly know whether it's been edited or changed in a way to be misleading. I still don't think that it's any one group's ability or even their responsibility to do this. What do you think? If you look at stuff on the internet and something that you see looks kind of weird, do you immediately take it for, oh, that must be the truth, I see it in a video? No, we all can question anything. And to have an organization decide that they need to make up the standards, they can tell you what is misinformation or disinformation. That's just not a good thing. It's not, it's almost like it's like censorship, because eventually what that leads to is that someone decides, no, you can't put that on the internet, and you get delisted, taken off, deleted, whatever. And we're seeing that a lot already in many of the big techs. There's a lot of people that no longer on them, so that they can't display their work or share their information or their views on anything. The other organization is C2PA, and it's a consortium of Microsoft, Adobe, Intel, BBC, ARM, and TruePic. They joined forces with Microsoft to develop an end-to-end open standardized provenance solution. And the provenance solution really is, they want to be able to decide and somehow limit what you're going to see by deciding if something is disinformation or misinformation. It says that the C2PA will be a joint development foundation project. Its members aim to develop an end-to-end open standardized provenance solution to address the occurrence of both disinformation and misinformation, and also online content fraud. So you see, this kind of coincides because I think CAI and C2PA are basically intertwined, but they're both going out to see if they can figure out how to stop disinformation and misinformation as it's determined by them to be disinformation or misinformation. There's nothing in there that is going to say they're going to just have this open-minded about everything. They want to be able to control and decide what is misinformation and disinformation, and somehow either have it removed, deleted, you don't see it, somehow flagged that, in their opinion, it's not something that you probably should see, or if you're going to see it, they're going to tell you that they think it's disinformation. According to Microsoft, for the technical specifications will cover defining what details are associated with each type of asset, how the information is presented and stored, and how proof of tampering can be detected. So again, I don't know that it's some company or organization's responsibility to decide what is been edited content or content that somehow they don't think it should be shown, because that's basically what this is. I mean, it's not. I'm not trying to beat around the bush here, but this is basically, we are going to decide what you can see, how we can control it, how we can mark it, and how we can somehow put some sort of watermarks or something on it so that we can decide whether it's disinformation or misinformation, and then it can be controlled and spoon-fed to you, not spoon-fed to you in a way that you can see it, but they're going to spoon-feed you the content they want you to see. It says, with collective expertise of this group, we will accelerate the critical work of rebuilding the public's trust in online content through broad and open adoption of a provenance standard at scale. I didn't know there was a public mistrust of online content. I believe that most people, probably 99% of the people out there, have enough skills, whether they're just intelligence or critical thinking skills, to look at anything they see on the internet and then decide whether it's true or it's false or it's fraud or somehow being misleading. I don't think that's responsibility of this organization to do that. So That's just, one of the things that these two organizations are doing, and I believe that, being so far under the radar that we're not even hearing about it, that this is something that's pretty scary, because to have a group of people or organizations decide what you can see or what you should see is a scary thing. That's not a good thing. We should all be able to see whatever it is out there, and if you don't like it, don't look at it. If you don't want to hear it, if you don't like what someone says, don't listen to them. If you think it's, somehow misinformation or it's not exactly correct, go research it, figure it out. People can do that. So I'll leave that right there. I got a couple articles I want to talk about, but we'll leave that one right there. In an article called Scary, Hillary Clinton calls for government to censor conservatives and critics who cost her the election, the 2016 election. There's a part in here, she was being interviewed on Hold the Line with Maria Ressa. And one of the things she says in here, which kind of goes back to exactly to what I was talking about, it says that she goes on a tirade against Facebook, saying that the whole business model of the tech platforms, first and foremost Facebook, is to drive distrust, is to drive you through their algorithms further and further down the rabbit hole of conspiracy, falsehood, and to become almost captured by that system of distrust and disinformation. You notice that word, disinformation? Doesn't it kind of go along with what the CAI and C2PA are trying to thinking they're going to get rid of, is disinformation and misinformation? Hillary Clinton thinks that it was all misinformation or disinformation that made her not be elected. In another article, though, there's another one that talks about a Facebook executive. It doesn't name the executive, and I'm sure there's a reason for that. But the name of the article is Facebook Executive Confesses to Whistleblower That State-Sponsored Disinformation Was Allowed on the Platform, as long as it didn't help Republicans, of course. So it's the Facebook executive is now on record telling a whistleblower that state-sponsored, that means government-funded, disinformation meant that she had job security. Facebook allowed authoritarian governments, including the United States, to use the platform to generate fake support for their regimes for months, despite warnings from employees about the disinformation campaigns. Now, there must have been there must be some people even inside Facebook or some of the other big tech companies that, sort of decide what you can and cannot see. There must supposed to be some people in there that actually believe in free speech and don't really support having, one-sided views or videos either posted or even allowed to be on the platform. So, it kind of goes back to that what those two organizations are doing. There's a certain group of people in this country and around the world really that don't want you and me to be able to see both sides of any particular, let's say, idea or information or view. They want us only to see one side. So, I want to leave it right there. Please, if you don't mind, smash that like button if you like what I've done. And if you don't like it, then smash the like button anyhow. And actually, if you don't like it, subscribe, because then you can hear me say more things that you don't like. But all that aside, please, if you don't mind, smash the like button, and we will talk to you next time.